Welcome to episode number 154 of the Chris Rose Rotation, a production of John Boy Media and presented to you by our friends over at SeatGeek. Regular season is over. We are getting ready for the postseason, which starts on Friday. So let's bring in a guy who has had an all-star season. He is a true member of the John Boy Media family, and he's going to set the October schedule for us. Ian Happ of the Chicago Cubs joining us. This is a Wednesday that we're taping, so this is the final day of the regular season. Are you excited? Is it like the last day of school, or are you sad?
It is kind of like the last day of school. It's like you're excited that you're done and that you get to take a little breather because it is a long year. But you miss the guys. You miss the guys that you've been grinding with, and it's always tough when you don't make the postseason like that. Being those first few weeks of the off season and postseason baseball is underway, and the TV turns on and you see it and you don't know if you want to watch or you don't want to watch. That's the tough part.
Will everybody sign your yearbook, or how's that go today?
You know what guys do? Guys will do, like, we had the Field of Dreams game, right? So we got a team photo of the Field of Dreams game, which was a really cool thing. So a lot of guys had the full team sign the team photo from Field of Dreams. Guys will do like the nameplate sometimes, maybe get a bat, maybe get a ball. But yeah, I think it's always nice to commemorate, that specific year. You never know how many you're going to get. And, even if you play forever, you don't get that many of those. So to be able to kind of commemorate each and every year with something special, I think is important.
Are you more physically beat up or mentally?
No, I've been physically really good all year. There's little things that you go through at times, but I've felt really good about where my body's been at the entire year. It's your body kind of gets into this weird place too when you're playing every day, where it just, like, you're more sore in April and May than you are in August and September because your body just gets accustomed to it, and it just goes, I think it goes numb at one point, and everything's just the same. But the mental thing, 650 at bats and going out there every day and doing it. And there's been some exciting stuff for us in the second half. We've been a better team. We've won more baseball games. It's been, a nice way for us to finish, but there is that mental grind of not being in playoff contention pretty early in the year and still, come to work every day and figuring out a way to make it exciting, enjoyable. Like, where do you go for that kind of motivation every single day?
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting because it was not a good start for the Cubs at all. You guys have been much better from September on, won some huge games. The Mets are kicking themselves based on what you guys did to them, all sorts of stuff. But you guys did have a few peak moments, you in particular. Making your first All-Star game was unbelievable experience. What was the one snapshot you'll take from that?
Wow. The All-Star game was an amazing experience. Just being able to do that, being able to be in that locker room. I think, like, the one snapshot from the All-Star game is just Pujols. I think, like, especially what he did after that. I think, like, at that time, he wasn't having a great first half. He does the Derby, that really cool moment where we're all clapping for him, and then to get to watch, like, him really enjoy and take in that experience, and then what he did in the second half. It's kind of be a really cool thing, for me to have been his teammate for one day, and then for that same year he had 700 plus. It's pretty special.
How closely were you following what he was doing the last few weeks?
Yeah, I was really locked in on him and Judge. I think we got to see 695 he hit against us the last game that we played the Cardinals in St. Louis. And it was a progression throughout the season where every time he would take an at bat, people would get up and cheer. And then by the end of the season, there's a lot of Cardinals fans at Wrigley to watch the last time he was going to play at Wrigley. He was chasing the record. And then, finally every single at bat that last time that we played in St. Louis, people were phones out going nuts. And he hit 695, and I think it was the bottom of the eighth. but they put them ahead, and it was super clutch. And it was kind of one of those moments where you're like, damn it. And then you're also like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I just had Justin Turner on last week, and he got a front row seat to 700. And he was like, listen, you never want to see your guys give up home runs and all that sort of stuff. But I got to tell you, it's about as cool a moment as I've had on a baseball diamond.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a legend of the game. You're watching history happen. Like you only get to watch history happen so many times throughout your career. And generally it's little moments. It's the guy's 200th homer. I got to see Votto's maybe 2000th hit or 300 homer or something like that in the last couple of years. Like that was a really special, like you get to see guys hit landmarks in their career, and it's a really cool thing. And it kind of like puts into perspective, like, oh my God, this guy has been playing baseball for so long and had such a good career. But that, like what you were watching Albert do was all of those accomplishments, like times it was just like almost unfathomable. Like to play for 22 years, to hit 700 homers, it's just like you start to think about it and your brain blows up. You go, how is that possible that he's been able to do that for so long?
Well, they're going to be saying the same thing about you in 2039, brother.
Yeah. I've been really thinking about what my age 42 season's going to look like, which might be have a cane and be hobbling out there.
I know what your age 42 season is going to look like. You're going to be coaching your 8-year-old's little league team.
Yeah, that sounds more accurate.
Okay, good. Yeah. You got to start somewhere. That's fine. You are in Cincinnati right now.
Correct.
You will always hold near and dear to your heart because you are a Bearcat. Did you go back and go check out the old college bar tabs and stuff like that?
Actually, on Monday, I went back to campus and saw the baseball staff. Pitching coach there, JD Heilman, was one of the guys who recruited me, so he's still there. I hadn't met the AD yet, got to meet the AD, got to see Coach Fickle, the football coach. So it was cool to go back, and just the really cool thing about Cincinnati's campus is that all of the athletics are like kind of in the same spot on campus. They're on campus in the middle of campus. It's a city campus, and then you have like the baseball and the basketball arena, and then the football stadium are this like little triangle right next to each other. So guys aren't like leaving campus to go do their stuff. They're right there. So it's really a beautiful place, and to be able to go and just hang out for a few hours in the morning and talk to the guys and be around it was cool.
Good old Nippert Stadium.
Nippert's a beauty. Nippert is a beauty. That place, for I think it's like 35,000. Maybe they expanded a little bit now, but it is, because it's a bowl down kind of in the middle of campus. It is very loud for that amount of people.
That's where I started my television career, was Cincinnati, Ohio.
Really?
WXIX, the Fox affiliate in Cincinnati. I actually started at Channel 12, which I think is now the CBS, but it was the ABC at the time. I ran studio camera on the morning show. I'd get up every morning at 3:30, and I made $4.85 an hour to run studio camera. And then I eventually got a job at the Fox affiliate. Kevin Frazier, who's now the host of Entertainment Tonight, was our he was our weekend sports anchor, and I was the weekend sports producer. So he's like my mentor in the business before I got on air anywhere. But I used to cover everything, including University of Cincinnati, with Rick Minter as their head coach.
So Cincinnati has to be near and dear to your heart too.
Yeah, it is. I lived at the 4th and Plum Apartments. There were a few Cincinnati Reds that lived in there. God, what was his name? The guy who gave up Cal Ripken's 3,000th hit lived there. And then a backup catcher who actually became a starting catcher, had a couple good years for them, a guy named Ed Taubensee. And the reason I was so excited about Ed Taubensee living in there, 2 reasons. He was the guy that the then Indians traded to Houston to get Kenny Lofton. So that was always a big deal.
Epic.
And his wife was a smoke show. So every time I saw them riding in the elevator, I was like this 23-year-old just kind of hanging out in the corner, like, oh my God, like if you ever make the major leagues, that you can marry.
That's what it looks like.
That. So
you're a Cleveland guy. I have a lot of Cleveland family, and I watched those when I was growing up. Those Indians teams. I was born in '94, but like the aftermath of the '95 and '97 team, Omar Vizquel, and like Tomey, Travis Hafner, all those dudes. That was Kenny Lofton. Those were the teams that I watched, and like every time I played a video game was the Indians. Like
That way.
my dad was from Chardon, so that was my my team growing up. And I absolutely could not get enough Indians.
Even though you're a Pittsburgh guy.
Yeah, we I was born in Philly area, so my brother was born in Cleveland area. And my parents moved from Cleveland. My mom was going to get her PhD, so we went to Philadelphia. And then she got a job after she got her PhD. She got a job at Pitt and was a professor of nursing ethics at Pitt. So we went to Pittsburgh after that. So that's where I grew up. But so much family in Cleveland for my dad's side that we were really Cleveland sports heavy.
All right. Well, I knew I liked you for a reason, but still, that makes you Pirates, Steelers, Penguins.
Well, when I was growing up, I was Indians, Browns, and then my dad went to Ohio State, so I was Buckeyes too, and that was kind of like those were the teams I cared about. As I grew up, baseball was more of just I wanted to watch really good players. Football was I just want to root against the Steelers because the Browns were good enough to root for, but being in Pittsburgh, it was really easy to root against the Steelers.
When were the Browns good enough to root for in the early 2000s?
Did they have one playoff team, right?
Yeah, one playoff team in 2002 or 3. One of those.
Yeah. So it was like you weren't rooting for the Browns. They were just like
they were terrible.
Yeah, they were bad. But you could root against the Steelers because they were in it all the time. So you could if the Steelers lost, it would break everybody's heart in like that you went to school with. So like you couldn't be like the Browns are really good, but you could be like at least you guys didn't win.
Okay.
And then I was an Ohio State fan until I went to school, and then I went to Cincinnati, and you're playing against them. I always had a tough time with the guys that were like playing for Cincinnati, but also like on the weekends rooting for Ohio State to win in football or something. I couldn't do that. So I was Bearcats after that.
Okay, good. Didn't you go to the playoff game last year?
I did. I went. It was awesome. I'm in Austin, Texas in the off season. Right. So to be able to jump to Dallas was easy. Euclid was there. We got to do a little pep rally and try to fire the fans up. It was really cool. It was a cool experience to get to watch it and go with a couple of college friends. That was really fun.
Yeah, that's nice. That's really nice. So now what does the off season entail? I saw you got engaged, which is awesome. Congratulations. And you
Thank you.
You and your bride to be is this an off season wedding? Is this like fast?
Nope. We're going next off season.
Oh wow.
So we got plenty of time to plan. We've been working on the arrangements so that when we went to the off season, we would be settled, not having to do a whole lot. So we've been doing that during the year. Yeah, go down to Austin, play a bunch of golf. I'm excited. Yeah, I got a few things in November, but besides that, it's pretty quiet October, which is nice. The F1 race comes to Austin. That's a big deal for me. I'm way into F1. Way in.
You are?
That's way in. Yeah.
Okay. Will you have like teammates that want to come down and check it out?
I don't know. Brennan Hughes, Hughesy he's a F1 guy. There's a chance that he might make it down there. But besides that, not a lot of F1 guys on the team. You know, Jake Arrieta and I went last year together. Arrieta's he's into it. So I think we'll probably go together this year.
Be careful hanging out with Arrieta.
Oh, he's a beauty. He wore a cut off t-shirt and he was just like walking around looking so strong. It was like having a bodyguard. It was great.
What's your golf game at, dude, right now, handicap wise?
I'm a 0 right now.
But
it's going to be tough because I'm going to go back playing at a 0 because the course is up north. It's a little bit more wide open. You know, you can spray it a little bit. You go back to Austin at a 0 at my place. I'm not going to be getting enough strokes. The thing about where I play in the off season is I'm still going to be getting strokes at a 0.
Strokes.
Yeah, I'm still going to be a couple of guys I play with are still going to be giving me a couple of like 1 or 2 aside, and that's not enough.
What do they play on the Live Tour?
Absolutely not. But I have a couple of buddies that played in college and are still really good amateur players and play a bunch. So yeah, the tee at my place, it's like the highest handicap you'll hear is like a 2.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary. I don't like it.
Well, so you could have played in college easily.
No. I wasn't.
Yes.
No. I was okay. I played high school golf. I was decent. I was a decent player. I've gotten better since getting to pro ball. But those guys are so good. Those guys are so good. Like the guys that I play with that played in college, they're like +2s, +4s. Like they're so much more consistent than I am. I really enjoy the game, but I have too much respect for how hard it is to think that I could have, like, people ask me like, what would you like to play professionally when you're done playing? It's like, yeah, sure, but I don't have the game for it. Like those guys are too good.
What is your all-time low round?
69 twice.
Where?
One was in Mesa, at Mesa Country Club during spring training. I played with Joel Damon and Harkins, a couple of guys that have done okay on tour. Damon shot a 58 that day.
What?
Beat me by 11 strokes. It's the most unbelievable thing. I was 3 under.
Holy David Duvall, Batman.
It was unbelievable to watch. It was insane. And the other place I played, it was me and Lester playing Pittsburgh Field Club. Maybe 2018, maybe 2018, 2019. Yeah, a couple under at Pittsburgh Field Club. That was a really good one.
What is the best course you've ever played?
Ooh, probably Oakmont. Oakmont's my go-to there. That place really special to me. My dad was an agronomist for the USGA, and he did a couple of US Opens there. And we got to kind of be behind the ropes and experience that, and a lot of special memories at Oakmont. So that's my number one.
I covered Tiger at his apex.
Yeah.
One of my jobs when I first got out to Fox Sports Net, they were like, "What do you know about golf?" I said, "Yeah, I used to watch a lot, with my dad every weekend, every Sunday. It'd be the late NFL game, and then the last round of whatever golf tournament." So they're like, "Okay, great, you'll follow him." So I followed him on the Tiger Slam all the way around the world, which is pretty damn awesome.
That had to be just amazing.
The coolest thing. So for the British Open in 2000, that was going to be the last one of his Tiger Slam, his 4 straight. And I don't know if you remember, but I mean, you were a little kid then, but he kicked everybody's ass at the US Open a month before. He won by 15 strokes. 15 strokes everyone. He won by.
Yeah.
And then at the British Open, he won by 8 at St. Andrews.
That was the one where he just hit 2 irons off the tee the whole time, right?
Yeah. I mean, he didn't miss anything.
Yeah. He didn't hit a ball in any of those bunkers. He just smashed 2 irons right down the middle and dominated the whole field. I was lucky enough to kind of have an understanding of what was going on when he was going on that run in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
But to see the second run, kind of that after he retooled his swing again, and that kind of like 05 to 08, and to really understand what was going on in that Torrey Pines Open when he was limping around, and Rocco Mediate, who's a Greensburg guy.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually, my grandparents are from there and I have family there. So like Rocco Mediate's like a legend there. To have a really like firm understanding of what was going on there and just how dominant he was at the time. Like it was appointment television. You would come home from school to see the Thursday and Friday and see what he was doing. And then like Saturday, Sunday, whenever he was teeing off, you were locked into the TV to watch his round, because he was winning at such a high rate. And if he wasn't winning, he was in the top 5. Like if he was ever out of it by Sunday, it was an absolute shock.
Yeah, it was back then you could say, okay, are you going to bet Tiger or bet the field?
Yeah.
And nobody in the history of golf had that happen, because you had to sit. I mean, come on, if you were like, I'll take so-and-so in the field right now, you'd be like, well, I'm going to take the field.
Yeah.
Because that 100%. Dude even if he's great, has like a 1.8% chance of winning.
mean, you
Tiger,
gotta,
when you said Tiger of the field, it was literally a coin flip.
yeah, every week. And then like some of the guys right now, JT and Rory and these dudes that are so good and their games are so dialed, they're still, they're winning 3-4 times a year. And that's unbelievable. Like if you win 4 times a year right now, you've had an absolutely epic season.
Monster.
What is going on, guys? The NFL action is in full swing at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. We're talking touchdowns, big plays, and even bigger wins. And new customers can bet just $5 on any team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. Check this out. Are you ready for this? I don't think you're ready for this. In addition to the usual bets, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. This week, Detroit's playing the Patriots. Goff's throwing 2 tutties. You got Amon Ra catching 1, and you got the Lions winning +3. Right there. That's your stepped up same game parlay for this Sunday. Lock it in. And to make things even sweeter, you could throw down on a stepped up same game parlay once per game day all season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code ROSE to get $200 in free bets if your team wins when you place a $5 bet on any football game. That's promo code ROSE only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Now back to the show.
Hey, you mentioned Field of Dreams. What was the best part of that?
Best part of Field of Dreams was before we came out onto the field to be announced and walk through the corn and do that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Hall of Famers were all back there. And so the Hall of Famers walked out first, right? Griffey Jr., Griffey Sr. And we're sitting back there and those guys are just chopping it up. Larkin's back there, talking to Griffey, Sandberg. So our guys, Sandberg, Billy Williams, Fergie, Andre Dawson, and Lee were back there. And so they're listening to this, they start chopping it up together. Like that experience when you see how connected all of those guys were, it was like they were asking like, Lark, did you ever get Lee Smith? Like Sandberg, did you ever hit a homer off this guy? And like they had all played against each other, in the same division. There was a connection from one guy to the next, from Billy all the way to Griffey Jr. And it was just so cool to kind of watch the way that they were talking to each other and the experiences that they had and that amount of time in the game. Like that was, the whole thing was awesome, but to be back there with those legends of the game was such a cool moment. We get a lot of time to hang out with our guys. They're around a lot. They're super generous with their time. But to see that from another team too, and that connection was really cool.
You and Wilson Contreras have quite a connection. I mean, basically it's you two and Jay Hay, who are the last kind of that group standing.
Kyle Hendricks too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Kyle Hendricks. Forgot about Kyle. Quiet.
Yeah. Quiet. He hasn't, he went on the shelf a little early this year. So he hasn't been out there.
And you and Wilson shared that embrace that got caught on camera because we thought he was certainly going, that you were possibly going. Neither of those things happened. So you end up playing out the year. Now he's going to end up being a free agent, might end up elsewhere. You still have one more year left on your deal. Have they talked to you at all about what the future holds for you?
No. Not at all. It was a crazy time. And when the rumor mill starts going, when it starts like firing up, you eventually you convince yourself that like, yep. Oh. And I think a lot of people thought that I was going to be traded, including myself. And, we went to the All-Star game and I didn't think anything of it before the All-Star game. Then you go to the All-Star game and you're playing with a couple of guys who are like, hey man, think we're talking about it. Think we're looking at it. You're like, oh, what? And then, the next couple of weeks are just nonstop. And that was a weird weird time where kind of like in season, that was the most I'd ever heard my name talked about. And but yeah, that, no talks of future stuff. We'll see what happens this offseason. We'll see if it's something that materializes. But it's been awesome to get to play out the second half with these guys, to watch Nico Horner hit his 10th homer. Yesterday he's got 10 homers and 19 bags. He's played an awesome shortstop. He's been healthier this year than he ever has been. He's going to play 140 plus. Like that's really cool to see, like just little things like that being a part of this team is really cool to see it through the whole way.
Do you think, though, that they owe it to you? I mean, you've been around now. Wouldn't it be nice if they just said, hey, listen, here's what our plan is. We don't know if you're going to get traded. I mean, honestly, but we're going to kick it around.
Yeah. And there was a little bit of that. It wasn't like completely, totally blind. Like there was a little bit of transparency of like, we're going to see what is out there. And like the asking price is high, but so I knew that they were exploring. That doesn't necessarily, at no point was it, hey, we're not going to trade you. And at no point was it, hey, you're absolutely gone. So it leaves you in that limbo, which is kind of where you probably would have landed anyway. And that having to play during that, especially when you don't know anything else, even though I had seen the guys get traded and be absolutely fine, when you don't know anything else, when you have a love for the city, for the fan base, for what you get to do every day at Wrigley Field, like that part is challenging. There's a human element to it that's challenging.
If I had told you 4 years ago that this organization would not have Rizzo, Bryant, Schwarber, Baez, any of them, you would have said,
I would have been shocked. I think Riz was the one. The other guys, it was always going to be tough to keep everybody. It was always going to be tough for especially for KB and Javi, because they were young guys. They were going to hit free agency at a good time, and they were going to command a lot of money. And so it was always going to be tough to figure out a way to keep those two guys. Schwarb had a little bit of a different case where things happened really quickly in coming out of the pandemic, where budgets were cut, where he had a short season that didn't go well, and it was like an overreaction. And that, that happened to not just him, like that happened to a lot of guys in the league that year. But it actually worked out. I know he loved Chicago and it was so awesome for him, but it really worked out where he got to go somewhere and play every day, because he never really got that opportunity in Chicago to just, because of like the construction of our roster, because of the National League and the defensive part. And like we had at any given time in those first 4 years we played together, we had like 6 different outfielders that and at one point we had like 4 all-stars, not that they were all-stars at that time, but at some point in their career would be all-stars in the outfield. They were mixing in. And so he never really got that chance. And then he goes to the Nationals and gets a chance to play every day and puts up these amazing numbers and gets paid. And so that, worked out great for him. I thought Rizzo was the one that was going to be a Cub forever. I thought there would be a statue and a number retired and all of that. Like that was the one that was most shocking. But again, like he's loving New York. He's gotten to watch Judge make history. He's in the playoffs. He just tied his career best in homers. He's had a great year. He got out of the Wrigley wind and how hard it is to be a left-handed hitter at Wrigley. And that's it's really cool to watch for him.
What's the single season home run record
in baseball?
Oh
God. Listen, I think the single season home run record is Barry Bonds, but I do think what Aaron Judge has done is the most special thing that we've seen. I think because of the pitching, because of the baseball this year, because of the dominance of the rest of the league and where all of the other numbers are, as far as slugging,
Yep.
on base, and just total homers for everybody else. I think this is the most impressive thing for sure that I've ever seen. But if you told me that Aaron Judge was the single season home run record, I wouldn't argue with you. I wouldn't try to fight you on it, because I think that he's the only one that hasn't done it with help, and it's really, really amazing.
It's amazing. I will say this. Here's where I sit on it. I think the entire discussion about whether it's the single season home run record or whether he's the MVP or if it's Shohei Ohtani, all that discussion has actually taken away from the remarkable season he's had, because we're trying to label it something. We're too busy. Well, it's got to be this. And then there's pushback. Well, no, it's definitely not that. It's this. It's that. Why can't we just appreciate it as one of the top offensive seasons we've ever seen, and maybe even the best one? Why isn't that just good enough?
And I think watching, getting a chance to watch these last couple weeks and like watch his at bats, because they're on all the time, it's so remarkable the discipline that he's been able to have through this whole thing, the amount that he's walked, the 1400 OPS he's carrying in September, October, like through, and especially like on a team where he was the guy that was in there every day and the most consistent and like carrying the team. And I can't say enough about like how impressive that season is that he's put together, but also the way that his teammates talk about him. Scott Efros got traded over there, and we talked to Scott quite a bit on my podcast, and we're friends, so we text and we talk to each other, and he's just like, dude, this guy's the ultimate pro. He's unbelievable. He goes out there every day. He doesn't talk about like what he's doing. He has the most professional at bats, and he never looks like he's pressing to do anything. And I think it's remarkable, and I think you're right. I think people should just appreciate what they're seeing, how amazing it is. We may never see it again, and just be happy that you got to witness it.
I'm with you, man. That's good enough for me. Good enough for me. You want to talk playoffs a little bit? We finally got our matchups. So in the National League, the first round, boy, how would you like it if you were a New York Met? You're in first place for 175 days. Here come the Braves. They're going to be in first place for less than 10 days. And it's the Mets who get stuck in the 4-5 game. So they're taking on San Diego. It'll be St. Louis taking on Philly. St. Louis is obviously in your division. You saw them 19 times. We know all the players there. Is there any way that Philly sneaks past them? Are they?
I mean, yeah, there's always a way. The Phillies got good pitching, man. They got Nolan Wheeler, and I think Suarez is a good 3. I think the Cardinals are a complete team. I think Wainwright's going to go do his thing in the playoffs like he does. I think having Hattie behind the plate's a huge advantage. And those two guys bopping in the middle for them. They play really good defense. They run the base as well. Like, they do everything that you need to do to win the 2-1 baseball game in the playoffs. And they have a lights out closer. I don't see the Cardinals not advancing through that, but there is a way that the Phillies, they go out and get 2 dominant pitching performances from their 1 and 2. And they get those guys to hit a couple homers and score 3 runs. There's a way. Their bullpen's good. Their bullpen's good enough to hold down the lead if they get it.
I'm rooting for Harper. I can't believe it's been 5 years since he's been in the playoffs.
Yeah.
5 years, man.
Yeah, he for what he's been through this year, and to come back and to still be really good and contributing. And we just played him, and he's 3 hits in 1 game, and he's still locked in. And Schwarber and I are really close, and him at the top of the lineup hitting 4 homers in that last series to kind of seal the deal for them. Like, those things are awesome. Those are fun storylines. People talk about like, we play them all the time. I don't want our division to win. I want our division to win. I want our division to stand up and be like, hey, the NL Central, there's a lot of shit that's talked about the NL Central. Like, hey, we got some good teams, the NL Central. I would like to see the NL Central teams really push it into the playoffs, so that, it's like this, division wasn't as much of a cakewalk as people talked about it. The same
Okay.
thing. I said the same thing about the Brewers. A lot of people didn't want the Brewers to get in because we play them all the time. It's like, I would love to see the Brewers get in. That's a great pitching staff, and you see that on display in the playoffs. It'll show you that playing them 19 times is the easiest thing in the world.
Other matchup, your former teammate, Yu Darvish, will end up getting the ball in game 1 for San Diego against the Mets. I mean, you look at the Mets pitching, it'll go DeGrom and then Scherzer and Bassett if they need him in game 3, and you think, God, that's a huge edge. But, dude, Darvish he doesn't get talked about a lot. Maybe that's because he went to San Diego, and San Diego's not the Dodgers, so we don't talk about him, but he's been awesome, dude.
He's been really good. Musgrove's been really good, too. It's a good one, too. I think that's going to be a really good series. And it depends how the Mets are going to come out hot. The Mets have good leadership. They have good dudes that are going to have that team ready to play, and they really want it. That's a group that's played well all year. They probably feel a little slighted right now. They really want to prove that they are on one of those top teams in the National League and can take down the Dodgers. So I think they're going to be ready to play, and you have those two aces that'll be ready for playoff baseball. But the Padres are a scary team. They've got a lot of really good players, and it's just going to be that's going to be a real momentum series where if the first person to kind of bop them on the head and put up a couple runs off of one of those aces in the first game is going to have a lot of momentum.
I'm with you. I think that Soto's been better over the last 2.5 weeks or so. I'm not going to say he's the old Juan Soto, but he's certainly a lot closer. And I think the Mets miss Starling Marte tremendously. I think he's just a guy who's a spark plug. He still runs the bases great. He's got some pop. He plays good defense. And I think their little bit of a slide kind of coincided with his absence. Mm-hmm. So if he's not available, man, San Diego could end New York's dream season in a hurry. This is just the 4th time the Mets franchise had won 100 games in a season. And here they are. They got to go play a wild card round. That's a kick in the dick right there.
Yeah. I think fans, just because we see 1 or 2 100-win seasons every year, I think fans kind of think that's normal. 100 wins isn't normal. 100 wins is exceptional. It's absurd. So I think that there has to, no matter what happens to the Mets in the playoffs, there has to be some sort of appreciation for the fact that they've won 100 games and played so well. It's not on them that the other team in their division was, just as good. It's that's a really, really special season that should be appreciated no matter what happens.
I know you don't know the American League as well. Obviously, you don't see as many of those teams. You got Cleveland hosting Tampa Bay, Seattle at Toronto, which I think will be a fascinating series with all the young talent that's going to be on display there. Is there one player you would be watching out of those two series where you're like, yeah, that's kind of interesting?
I think Seattle, Toronto. Is Toronto the home team there? Are they hosting?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're the 4.
I think that'll be an interesting series. I think Gosman's the guy there, and then they have a good bullpen. But I think that offense, those young guys like Vladdy and that young core of hitters that they have in Toronto, that'll be the exciting thing. If they can start hitting a little bit and get some momentum, they're going to be fun to watch because that place is going to be absolutely bumping.
Yeah, I'm also keeping my eye on Julio Rodriguez. I mean, we saw what he did. You were there. You had a front row seat at the All-Star game to see what he did in the home run derby.
Yep.
I don't think the moment is too big for a kid like that. I think he's ready to jump on something there. Yeah,
for sure. That's an interesting one. I think you always wonder, those young guys, some of them, like Julio Rodriguez, he likes the spotlight, he's into it. But playoff baseball is like this. It's this different animal, it's different beast. There's so much prep that goes into getting you out because they have, when you're going through the course of the season, everybody's got great reports. When you go to the playoffs, it's the 24 hours before the series is every single person in the organization together game planning how to get you out for 3 days. And that's a little bit of a different beast when it comes to how they're going to approach you. We'll see. I like that one though.
Interesting. How much of the playoffs will you watch?
Not much. I won't watch. I will tune in if the Yankees are playing because of Rizzo and Efros. If the Yankees are playing like a night game and I'm at home, I'll probably turn it on. And then some other like late innings things. If there's close games in late innings, I'll turn it on and watch it. And then once they get to the CS and the World Series, that's when I'll tune in a little bit more. But it's, right after, it stings a little bit, right after the season when you're done, and you're trying to get away from it, and like you want so badly to be there. It's a little tough to watch for the first week or so.
Okay, fair enough. When's the first round of golf in the off season?
I fly back to Austin Friday, get in at like 9:30 in the morning. I will be at the golf course, I think, by about noon.
And how many rounds do you think you'll get in the off season?
I don't play every day, but I go to the golf course probably 5-6 days a week. It's really close to my house. So I'll work out in the morning, bounce over there, and practice a little bit, hit a few balls, maybe play 6 holes. I don't play all the time, but I go over there. It's nice to, especially like for the first few months in Austin when the weather's perfect. It's nice to be outside. That's it's kind of my off-season therapy.
Okay. No big trips planned or anything?
No big trips. Got a bunch of small trips in November, but nothing big yet. We'll see. Maybe something in January if there's time.
Okay. All right. And the compound, does it continue in the off season?
The compound rolls on. The compound is once a week. We still churn it out. I think this off season we're gonna make a little bit of a better effort to get guests. I think we've now that Shorty, Zach Short's been with the Tigers for a little bit, maybe have some of those guys on and guys that we've played with in different places and different teams, and try to get around the league a little bit, because we sometimes we rely on our friends a little bit too much and go straight to like Riz and Efros and some of the dudes. But I think we're gonna make a better effort to kind of expand and just check in on guys off seasons as they go.
I'm always curious. I appreciate it. With the Rose rotation, we got a half dozen active major leaguers as our rotating co-host, and it's different than doing a podcast once a week. And particularly when things weren't going great in the beginning of the year, people are like, really, dude? Really? You're doing a podcast and we're freaking 20 games under 500? Did they give you that?
No, the nice thing about the Cubs fans is they love to be involved. They love to know what you're doing and there's no one of the really special things that we saw this year is even when we struggled, there wasn't this screw it, we're not coming to the park. We still had 40,000 people in the middle of summer. There's there's love and appreciation for everything. And Cubs fans are such a different breed, because when you're struggling, it's not you suck, you're not going to get this done. It's you can do it, we believe in you, and then you don't get it done. It's next time you'll get it done. That's the feeling in the stadium every time, no matter if you're hitting 320 or 120. The people care. They're there all the time, and they're always been so supportive of our podcast. And we have people in the stands every day who are yelling quotes from us, or like our little things that we do. It's a really special community.
That's great. Good deal. But we might have some events in the off season of John Boy Media. We don't want to divulge too much quite yet, but you better be a part of those. That's what
I'm looking for. I'm ready to be a part. We got to do the one thing in spring training.
Yeah,
we had to hang out, but you guys get to do cool stuff throughout the whole year, because you're not playing 162, so you guys get to go. You get to do the warehouse games. You get to go to the All-Star game and do the things together and all this stuff. And like the guys that are playing are just sitting there going, "Where's my invite?"
Yeah.
So maybe this offseason we get to actually do a few John Boy things.
Yeah, no, there could be a little blitz ball in your future. You never know.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about, like, you play blitz ball, you get your ticket punched a couple of times. So like, don't you do this for a living? It's like, it's a little different.
Could you imagine if Jake strikes you out?
Oh, it would hurt my soul.
Oh yeah, that could be like the downfall of an entire career. We don't want that. We don't want that starting.
Yeah, maybe I'll just sit on the sidelines and announce it. Maybe I'll just call the games.
I mean, you know, I'm the play-by-play guy, so I
That's
can
what
pull
I'm
a few
saying. Maybe
strings.
we can see how we work together.
I'm sure it'd be great. Are you kidding me? You know,
I
holy
think there's
smokes.
some chemistry there.
Absolutely. I think you're in. I'm going to spin the wheel of moderately interesting things, let you go about your merry way on the last day of school. Mini-me. What is the one thing when you get to a hotel room in the mini bar that you've got to crush?
Wow. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a mini bar guy. Okay.
God, come on.
I know it's the big leagues, but like I don't break into the mini bar. But if I do, and I have, it's because I'm really hungry, and I'm going for the assorted nuts. You know when they have a nice little mix of nuts? I'm into that.
Is it the canister one, or is it like sometimes they put stuff in a clear like rectangle or cube so that you can see it?
Yeah. I don't love the cube as much. I like the canister or the, like the place where they have like the glass. It's almost like a glass jar or like bottle. That one. That's my favorite one. Yeah.
That's some ritzy shit though on the
show.
show.
Yeah. Cubbies. Show cubbies. You got to stay in nice places,
Yeah, I know.
It's mandated for the show cubbies.
You're probably in the nicest hotel in Cincinnati. I got to be honest with you.
We are. Let me tell you. There's a new hotel that was built. It's a little boutique one. It's great. It's way better than the old spot we used to stay.
Good job. Well, listen, dude, I appreciate the time. It's good catching up. You've had a remarkable season. Hit them straight and not often on the golf course. I hope the wedding planning goes well. Be an active participant of that. There's some guys who are like, well, whatever, I just sign off on this. No. God willing, you only do this once.
Yeah, I'm in it.
Yeah.
I went to all the venue tours, I'm on everything. I'm in.
And then when you register for gifts, make sure that wherever you do it, you each blindfold the other, and then you take the little gun that will hit the label maker, and then you just spin around, and you'll be shocked to find the one thing that ends up because you didn't want it, but you ended up doing. Yeah, it's a fun little game.
I like that.
Fun little game. Ian Happ, it's great seeing you. I appreciate the time. Continued success with the compound. We love having it here at John Boy Media, and enjoy the little bit of the playoffs you might actually watch.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That was great.
Absolutely. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, that is Ian Happ. I am Chris Rose. We'll see you next time on the Chris Rose Rotation, a production of John Boy Media.